Good morning, students. Under the chapter Respiration, the next topic that we will be learning today is respiration and breathing. So, what is respiration? It is the process through which there is a movement of air into and out of the lungs. Through respiration, the body obtains oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. I repeat. Through the process of respiration, the body obtains oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. The oxygen that is taken in is used to break the food, as a result of which energy that the body required is released. The process of respiration takes place in the respiratory system. The respiratory system is vital to every human being. The organs of the respiratory system make sure that oxygen enters our body and carbon dioxide leaves our body. The respiratory tract is the path of air from the nose to the lungs. The respiratory tract is divided into two sections. The one is upper respiratory tract and the other is lower respiratory tract. The upper respiratory tract consists of nostril, nasal cavity, pharynx, epiglottis and larynx. So the air that we breathe enters through the nostril, passes through the passage and reaches the larynx, from where it enters the lower respiratory tract, which consists of trachea, bronchi, bronchioles and lungs. So what is trachea? Trachea is a pipe-like structure which ends in two small branches or two small tubes which are called as the bronchi. Each of the bronchus has several branches which is called as the bronchioles. And at the end of the bronchioles, they have several millions of alveoli. And each of the alveoli is surrounded by capillaries. Now we shall study about breathing. So it is a process in which the air moves in and out of the lungs. This is carried out through the respiratory organs. The process of taking in the air which is rich in oxygen is called as inhalation, and the process of giving out the air which is rich in carbon dioxide is called as exhalation. I repeat, the process of taking in the air which is rich in oxygen is called as inhalation, and giving out of the air which is rich in carbon dioxide is called as exhalation. This is a continuous process and goes on throughout the life of an organism. Next, we shall study the mechanism of breathing. The air which we breathe in and out of the lungs varies in its pressure. So when there is a fall in the air pressure in the alveolar spaces, the air enters the lung. The process is known as inspiration. On the other hand, as the pressure of the air within the alveoli exceeds than that of the atmospheric pressure, in that case, the air is blown out from the lungs. The process is known as expiration. The breathing mechanism involves two processes, which is inspiration and expiration. Inspiration. In the process of inspiration, there would be a contraction of the external intercostal muscles which is attached to the ribs, which pulls out the ribs and results in the expansion of the chest cavity. Later, the diaphragm also contracts and moves downwards and causes a contraction of the abdominal muscles. This again results in the increase of the chest cavity. Now we shall study the mechanism of inspiration. The process of inspiration is an active process when the volume of the thoracic cavity or the chest cavity increases, there is a decrease in the air pressure. Simultaneously, the lungs expand to fill in these spaces. With the expansion of the lungs, the air pressure inside the lungs decreases. In order to equalize the fall in the air pressure, the atmospheric air rushes into the lungs. Once the air rich in oxygen enters the lungs, there is a gaseous exchange which occurs in the alveoli by the process of diffusion. The air in the alveoli is rich in oxygen than the blood that flows through the capillaries that surrounds the alveoli. Since the wall of the capillary and that of alveoli are thin, the oxygen moves from the air in the alveoli into the blood that flows through the capillary by diffusion. The oxygen that diffuses into the capillary combines with the hemoglobin of the blood to form a complex which is called as oxy-hemoglobin. The blood carrying the oxygen reaches the heart through the blood vessels. The heart then pumps the oxygenated blood to all the tissues of the body. In the tissues, the oxygen which is carried in the form of oxy-hemoglobin gets dissociated to release the oxygen to the tissues. The gaseous exchange which takes place in the tissue is called as internal respiration. The oxygen in the tissue breaks down the glucose to release carbon dioxide, water and energy. The energy is utilized by the body while the carbon dioxide is diffused back from the tissue into the blood vessels which carries the deoxygenated blood. The carbon dioxide combines with the hemoglobin of the blood and results in the formation of carbaminohemoglobin. This complex is finally carried to the lungs and the carbon dioxide is released out of the body through expiration. What is expiration? It is the process that takes place after the gaseous exchange has occurred in the lungs, and during this process the air is expelled out of the body. During this process, the external intercostal muscles attached to the ribs and the muscles of the diaphragm relaxes and come to their original position, which leads to a decrease in the volume of the chest cavity or the thoracic cavity. The mechanism of expiration is that it is a passive process. The external intercostal muscle relaxes and the internal intercostal muscles contract, as a result of which the ribs are pulled inwards and the volume of the thoracic cavity is reduced. And the diaphragm is also relaxed and the lungs gets compressed. Consequently, the pressure increases in the lungs, and as a result of which the air, which is carbon dioxide, is forced and sent outside the body. Thank you, students.